Welcome to episode 3 of the Contra account, a bookkeeping podcast. We're two bookkeepers who live and work in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. I'm Darren McMahon from Dardee, and I'm joined by Dave Gertler from the Bookkeeping Habit.
Yeah, we are here to talk about the bookkeeping and accounting industries, and we called our podcast the Contra Account because it's bookkeeping and accounting, a bit of jargon, a bit of lingo, and also because we both have very different backgrounds and sort of insights and journeys in this industry.
Yeah, and our first two episodes have been recaps from both of us. A bit about us to give you guys, the listeners, a little bit about both of us and, what we've done. And we hope that we've shed some light on that for you. So, yeah. Dave.
Yeah. So, but today we're going to be focusing more on the talking shop aspect of what we're aiming to be a fortnightly podcast. And at the time of recording, it's still, we might just scrape in there with the fortnightly pattern. We're recording it on a Monday and we're trying to get it out by Monday. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is going to be a much more, newsy kind of episode, I guess. News, current affairs, keep you up to date, keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening.
This is going to be the more normal format from now on.
Yeah, but we are going to still insert our personalities, of course.
Yeah.
Which is going to be coming up soon.
Yeah. So, Dave, how are you going? How's things? What's been happening with you?
Yeah, look, things are generally good. Getting ready for a bit of a break to go up north, spend some time with my partner's family and my family over the Christmas break. And I've started a new job as a bookkeeper, very much a part-time job. It's been going well. A part-time job at a NDIS plan management, and I've forgotten the other stuff they do, but it's all NDIS service related.
Yeah.
In the local area that I live in. And it's going really well. I'm getting my head around it.
That's good. It's a bit of baptism of fire, really, though, isn't it? Like, you're finding it a bit of a challenge, or?
This particular position, not so much. It's been a very soft landing as far as this role is concerned, because basically the CFO has just sort of created this position for a bookkeeper to come in and take off her hands some of the more transactional type responsibilities, much more of the day-to-day processing, bit of payroll, a bit of a lot of month-end stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a lot of sort of closing off of accounts. There's, making sure that there's a lot of reconciliations involved.
Well, that's good. That's good. It'll give you a good understanding.
Yeah, and there's definitely a room for me to grow in terms of that understanding. Like I obviously know what a bank reconciliation, a bank rec. I'm getting a lot of practice with that in this particular job.
Always
it's
helpful to know how to do a correct bank rec.
Yeah, and using QuickBooks as well makes it feels like QuickBooks is designed well for bank recs.
Yeah.
But there's other types of recs as well, which I am new to, and kind of comes under the banner of stuff that is probably easier to know how to do, but harder to know to do it. So making sure that certain accounts that appear in the balance sheet match the equivalent account that appears in like the GST report or
Yeah.
the payroll with PAYG withholdings account. So I'm getting a lot of a good rundown on secondary non-bank account reconciliations that are required in the business. But I guess the issue is I'm starting to feel more broadly like I'm having a bit of frustration in terms of entering the industry, to be honest, Darren. Having finished my cert for like at the closer to the beginning of the year, having been working in the industry or in accounts related roles for over a year now, I just feel like there's a lot of obstacles that make it so that there's this rule of exclusion, I think, in the bookkeeping industry, where if you don't have access to certain things, then you can't do certain things. And the only way you can get that access is by getting the practice and, and then getting the certification or, like BAS agency or stuff like that. And I recognize and I know that it's important those barriers to entry are there, but I'm starting to feel like it's just those sorts of things have just been too stagnant for me for too long as I've entered this industry.
So, okay, forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but are you saying that it's hard to get into the industry without any experience? Everyone wants someone with experience, but you can't get that experience until somebody gives you a go. Is that sort of what you're saying, or not quite? Because I know that that's something that a lot of people have said, that it's hard to get your foot in the door initially. Somebody to give you a go to get you started.
Yeah, look, that's definitely a valid point, but that's also something that's kind of true for most industries and most job applications that people go for.
True.
This is more like, there's something about accounts and working with a company's accounts that it's particularly tricky to move across, to learn new tasks when those tasks are being done by other people. And for example, you need to have access to, like when I was working as an accounts officer, I had access to the practice management software for this allied health company, and I knew everything about their accounts receivable, basically all the invoices that hadn't been paid, and I could write a book about that. But I wasn't given access to the accounting software. That was the role of their company's bookkeeper. So you would think, and that bookkeeper is an external bookkeeper, and you would think that in other industries that I've been in, that kind of relationship is one that it's there's a natural way that someone who's motivated to enter an industry and become an expert at using all the different platforms can say, oh, I'm totally keen to do this. So, just teach me the processes and I'll take them off whoever's hands. But, there's all sorts of issues with trust and access to financial information.
Yeah,
and
look,
bank accounts.
I can understand that. I mean, it is. Yeah, look, it's one of those things where people rely on us to look after their financial information, and so that they are putting a great deal of trust in us. And I guess it's seen as, if you're a junior person or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, then that trust level is not really there, and especially if you're new into a role. And look, I can understand that, but I can also understand, what you're saying, where I can't, half the time it sort of impedes you from doing your job properly because you
Yeah.
don't have all the tools that you need in order
Yeah.
to be able to do it. And this is what accounting is sort of, it's evolved from the days gone where when I was working back in accounting firms, we would manually write out the journals and then we would take them to the processing area and
Mm.
they would type them into the computer. We
Yeah.
didn't type them in ourselves. And
Mm.
whereas nowadays, everyone just puts in their own information, you're constantly just in charge of your own destiny, so to speak. And
Mm.
and I always found that really frustrating, even, back 20 years ago when I was doing that.
Mm.
Um, More than that, I found that really frustrating and really
Mm.
like a really cumbersome process.
Mm.
In a lot of ways, we've moved forward, but now there's other areas where, this person may only be in, they may only have payroll admin access.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
person may only have, invoicing access, but
Mm.
as part of the invoicing access, they can't see certain areas of the receivables, or they can't look at contact information. So
Yeah.
it's moved, but in some ways, you've still got the same problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just frustrating, and I don't want to go on about it too much because as you said, like, as you've explained, um it's important to have those separations of duty,
Yeah,
and that they used to be a lot greater.
yeah,
But I guess you contrast it to, say, an industry like hospitality, and I know that it's apples and oranges. But if you're a barista and you make good coffee, you're there and just say it's quiet on the coffee, but the waiters need the wait staff need a lot of help. You'll go out onto the floor and you'll learn to be a waiter. Or alternatively, if there's no coffee orders, but there's a lot of food orders, you'll go into the kitchen and you might learn how to make a bacon and egg roll or roast some eggplant or make a really nice sandwich. And then you find that all of a sudden your knowledge is growing and you're getting a greater understanding of how a whole business works as a whole. And I guess most things that I've been in my time have allowed that kind of sense of exploring around and really kind of having transparency. And, if you get your hands dirty, you'll come away with a lot of experience. Whereas I'm noticing a trend, with accounting and bookkeeping that's a bit stifling of that mentality. And it's having the effect of overall making me feel somewhat stifled at this early stage of my, growth into that industry. And perhaps, there's other people out there who are listening who are in similar position to me and also finding it difficult to break in. So, just I don't have the solution, but I know how you feel.
yeah. Look, I think part of that is too that it depends on where you're working. I mean, obviously, you're working for a company at this point in time. You're employed there in a particular role, and you're doing the same, doing certain duties. Whereas for myself, where we can look after anything and everything for a range of companies. We do so many different things, and we get exposed. Excuse me. We get exposed to a whole raft of different programs, systems, banks. We do a whole bundle of stuff.
Mm.
Now, I think part of that is the working arrangement. Even back when I was working in commerce and I was looking after the whole accounting and admin team, it was the same thing though. You're still doing the same sorts of things each day. I think that when you work in your own bookkeeping practice or you work in a bookkeeping practice, even as an employee or contractor, you get exposed to a whole lot more. And I think that that's probably where the difference is when you're
And also
employed.
not being a BAS agent.
Yeah, but
Because I have clients as a bookkeeper, but I can't do their BAS, so I can't even go onto the ATO portal and make sense of the transactions that have taken place on their bank account with, transactions with the ATO. Like I'll be looking at a number that was paid out to the ATO or remitted from the ATO, and I won't actually know what the liabilities are that were at play there. I'll just go, okay, I can't really even see anything, let alone submit BASs for someone. And that's really, when you're someone who's coming into a career at a mature age, you want to think that you can handle it. But as it currently stands, like I have, I don't know, 500 more hours of experience, or not even, like maybe even more, before I can be a BAS agent. I'm sorry. Like, I just think it's a bit, it's coming out now. I've never really felt this emotional about it, but I just think it's stupid. I want it to end. I want there to be an interview process rather than you've got to reach 1,000 hours. And I want there to be more openness and acceptance of new people into an industry that, I reckon there's a lot of hoarding going on. I reckon there's a lot of like, oh, you don't know how to do that? Oh, that's okay. Well, I'll do it because I've got all the access. You know what I mean? But you just stay to do the other stuff, and then when you've done 10 billion hours of that stuff, maybe we'll let you into the big boys' room.
I two things. One, I think that sounds like the wrong trainer, because me personally, that's not the way I work. People need to be exposed to all sorts of different things at the right time. But if people have got the knowledge to be able to, to deal with stuff and look things up and be able to, understand those, then I'm all for telling them whenever, I think that's appropriate, which is, I'm the first person to delegate whatever I can to somebody. But the second point about the 1,000 hours, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think that is absolutely important. I actually think that there should be some sort of like traineeship type program that that is actually implemented, and you cannot be a BAS agent until you've done a certain amount of experience and all that working in a business. I think that's the way it should be. I mean, this is a bit of a sore point for me, and I'm not having a go at you, but I think that there's a lot of people that feel very entitled that they should be a BAS agent when I don't think they should be. And I mean, this is a bit of a sore point. I just think that there's a lot of entitlement within our industry, and I don't think that that's right. I have spent God knows how many years, like I've been in this industry, in the accounting industry, for 30 years now. Now, as it stands, because I did my accounting degree, when I first left school, because I did my CPA straight after that, after I finished my degree, as it stands, I can't be a tax agent unless I do a whole bunch more study and all that sort of stuff. Now, I know for a fact that I'm way more up to date than a lot of other people are who currently have a tax agent registration. I've done my time. I know my stuff, but I can't do that because of a piece of paper. I think that there needs to be more emphasis on the work experience rather than the piece of paper. I've said that for a long time. That's something that I firmly believe in myself. even if I was going to take on somebody, I look at what they've done in the past and their knowledge rather than what the piece of paper says. Yeah, look, I can understand your frustration, but I think
Yeah.
that is something that needs to be there. I think in your case, probably from what you're seeing and how you're feeling, is that you haven't had the right people training you who, maybe they do feel threatened by you. Maybe they can see that you know what you're talking about, and maybe they feel threatened by that.
Not
I
sure.
don't understand that, but,
Not sure. Like, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment. I don't know if that's entirely what's happening, but I will say that, I don't disagree with your words on standards. Absolutely. And the process that's required to get to a certain level should be the process. Like, there should be a process, and there needs to be a process.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's either something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with the industry or the system if at this stage, at least a year into, really over a year into employment and over 6 months past graduation from the Cert 4, I'm still going, I have no idea when I'm going to be a BAS agent, and I'm starting to, feel a bit lost. So, like, I don't want to talk about it anymore because we've already spoken for like about 20 minutes about my frustration. So I'd like to move on to something else and hear more from you, Darren.
Well, I mean,
how are
look,
you?
before we do move on, maybe there's other people who feel the same. We'd really like to hear from other people who are in the same situation as Dave, who started in the industry, not too long ago. How are you finding it? What are you feeling at this moment? Are you feeling like Dave? We'd really like to hear from other people if what they're seeing and feeling. So,
Darren, should we put in another little musical stab just to let people know that we're at the end of this little talking about myself and my frustration?
No.
I'm going to do it. And then we'll come back to you. There you go. Little peek under the bonnet of how a podcast works. Darren, how have you been? And what's been happening in your world?
Okay, well, look, for me, I'm just tired. I mean, there hasn't really been too much going on, but I'm just really tired. I'm mentally exhausted. I know that there's basically the whole accounting industry is feeling the same. I'm not any different to anyone else, but I'm done. Like I'm really done. I really am.
Is it like this at the end of every calendar year for you, or is it particularly the case?
No, look, particularly this year, because there has been so much that has gone on, and normally I've had a break, like for XeroCon. Myself and a group of friends, we always go to XeroCon. We rent a house, for a week. There's about 8 to 10 of us, and that's my sort of week off. That's my recharge, and that's at the beginning of September. Obviously, XeroCon didn't happen this year, so I haven't had that break. And by September, I'm always saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that we've got this break."
Yeah.
But I'm now 3 months on, and I still haven't had that break that I normally need in September.
Yeah,
Plus,
right.
with everything else that has gone on, I am so mentally and emotionally drained. I really am done.
So what is it about going to XeroCon that sort of constitutes a break for you? Just because, I know it's by definition it's work related, but do you take off a week before or after or something, or is it just you get to do something that's completely different from your usual day to day and you get to connect with friends? Is that
Yeah,
it?
look, normally so XeroCon is normally on a Wednesday and a Thursday these days. So normally we would go up on the Tuesday. During the day we'd be there. Tuesday night there's generally some sort of an event happening or a catch up or drinks or something. So we go out on Tuesday night. Then on Wednesday you've got XeroCon, so it's a chance to catch up with people, and then there's something happening on Wednesday night, and then Thursday again the same thing. You've got the event, and then there's normally like the party, whatever it is, on Thursday night, the big Xero do.
Yeah.
And then on Friday we've been staying an extra day, and we have sort of had our own little mini sessions on Friday amongst my group, and that's
Cool.
a bit of a chance to recharge, talk about certain things that we want to talk about, and then we come home on the Saturday. So effectively I'm away from Tuesday until Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes, we're doing conference type stuff, and yes, it's still work related, but it's, as you said, it's a chance to do something different. You're not thinking about work. You've basically put the shops closed up sign for a week, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be some emergencies that you may need to deal with, but they're very few and far between. There's other people who look after stuff while I'm away. It's just a bit of a chance to stop and to get a bit of your breath back and to recharge a bit.
Yeah.
You sort of enjoy it. Like, it's a chance to enjoy, being with friends, being with colleagues, take some time out. But yeah, we haven't had that this year. I mean, a lot of people, especially if they've been in Victoria, and hello to our Victorian listeners, I mean, they've done it the hardest out of everyone. I mean, we're lucky. We're in New South Wales, and we're not even in Sydney, you and I. We're out of Sydney, so haven't even been impacted probably.
Mind you, Moss Vale is the last place where there was any community.
Well, that's right. I mean, my own suburb. But I can just imagine, well, I can't imagine how Victorian listeners must be feeling, and Victorian people in the accounting industry. If I'm feeling the way I am, how are they feeling? They must be like, it's funny, actually. Well, it's not funny. This week, I mean, I saw one person go, right, that's it. I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. Like,
yeah, okay. Right. As in a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Right.
She's just gone, no, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. I mean,
just had a big old vent.
Whether that was just how she was feeling on the day, or whether that was, okay, I am actually done. That is it. I'm done. I'm gone. I don't know. But if that's how people are feeling, that's not good. People shouldn't be feeling like that. And so that's why I say I'm ready for this break. At the end of so on the let me just check my dates here before I say the wrong thing. So on the 18th, so Friday the 18th, that is my last official work day for this year. I'm not doing anything next week besides payroll and any emergencies that may come up.
Yeah.
And I'm not coming back until the 11th. I know a lot of people are coming back on the 4th, but I'm taking an extra week because I need it. I just need it. I just need a break. I'm actually going to take 3 weeks because I need the break. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't have that break, I'm going to start next year in the wrong frame of mind. So I think that's important for everyone, is that we do what we need to in order to start next year in the right frame of mind, because the last thing you want to be doing is coming back on the 4th, 11th, 18th, whenever you decide to come back. If you come back and go, oh, I don't feel like I've had a break. I don't feel like I've stopped, need to recharge.
So with I mean, the way I feel about that is, I haven't had the same caliber of sort of pain and stress this year, just because of my location, my situation, and I wasn't directly affected by my jobs were not directly affected by COVID, to any degree. But I know that this is a year like no other, and I'm almost like, I feel like I don't need to do anything, because as soon as we get back to 2021, I'm just going to know, like, it's no longer 2020, and that's enough for me. That's all the mental break that I need that year.
Yeah.
That this year that we're having is going to begin to become history. And I think from what's been happening from what happened in Melbourne to what's been happening all over the world, there's no way that, knocking on wood, as I say this, there's no way that things could get much worse next year over the space of the year compared to this year. Yeah. So what's your plan for next year for Dardee?
Look, that's a really good question, because I haven't had a chance to even think about that. I don't know. We're doing this podcast. That's one thing, which we've started recently towards the back end of this year. We'll obviously carry that into next year, and that's been one really good thing for me, is it's been a bit of an outlet. It's that's been really good. Look, don't get me wrong, there has been good things happen this year. I've made some changes, and things have changed a bit. I guess in some ways I do have a little bit of a rough plan to carry through some of the changes that we've made this year, and sort of build on those into next year and beyond, and we will do that. But I mean, there's nothing concrete yet, because I just haven't had time. I haven't been, I guess, in the right frame of mind to even think about next year yet. Like, this year is still, like, I thought this week even I would, we're recording on the Monday, as we said. We normally recorded last week on Friday, but we're recording on the Monday. So this being, today is the 14th of December, and I thought this week would be a bit of a cruisy week still. So far today, I've had so many phone calls and things that I need to do that what I thought was going to be a somewhat cruisy week is not going to be a cruisy week. So I guess that's just how this whole year has been. Look, I'm really grateful that we've had all the work that we have. And look, as an industry, that's one thing that I guess we have been really blessed by, is that our industry hasn't been affected anywhere near what others have. We've all been basically run off our feet. Now, as bad as that has been in terms of the stress and the mental toll on us, but we've been really lucky in terms of, workload and, money coming through the door. we've been blessed as an industry by that. So I can't, I'm not complaining about that whatsoever. But it would be nice to not have as much stress next year. That would be nice.
Well, we've put that out to the universe, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So since I've been someone who's interested in the world of business finance, I've followed that curiosity down a few different paths, and one of those paths that I've found myself finding myself interested in is stories of failure, of whether it's stories of mismanagement, fraud, crime. I think crime is really interesting. I once listened to this great podcast about the Ponzi scheme of Bernard Madoff that was discovered in 2008, the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. It's a great podcast called Ponzi Supernova. Okay. If anyone is looking for a podcast to listen to. But so there's something fascinating about Ponzi schemes to me.
Okay.
So, and I know it's not directly related to bookkeeping and accounting, but there are definitely some overlapping themes. Obviously, there's people pulling the wool over one another, and other people not taking all the notice of all of the documentations that are presented.
Not recognising the signs.
Yeah. So we've got a story about a Ponzi scheme that's very close to home currently in Australia. So a woman who has unfortunately she's gone missing in November, named Melissa Caddick. If you've been following the news, you might have heard about this story. Eastern Suburbs lady. She was being investigated for doing a Ponzi scheme where she misappropriated somewhere between $25 to $40 million. Now, she was meant to appear in court on the 13th of November, but she went missing the day before. We don't know what happened to her, and there's a missing persons investigation, and we at the Contra account obviously wish that all the best for her and hope that she's safe. And hope that everyone is involved is okay. Because there's a missing person situation, which is very mysterious as well. There are lots of different theories about it. She was last seen, very early in the morning, leaving her house to go for a run, but apparently she didn't take any of her possessions with her, including her phone, which, according to her husband, is something that she's never done before. They live in Dover Heights, actually quite close to where my grandmother used to live in Dover Heights in Sydney. So it's very close to the cliffs as well. And, sadly, it is where there is a suicide lookout, watch in that area in general. But no security cameras have picked up anything from her in the morning. It's not known where she is. It's either, she's ended her life, or her life has ended at the hands of someone else, or she's gone missing and she's somehow managed to disappear because of the trouble that she was going to be in. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, so what what exactly? How did she fool people? Like what? From an accounting point of view, I mean, I always find it interesting how people manage to pull these things off.
Yeah.
Like what was she doing? Obviously, you've done a bit of research into
A
it.
little bit of research. I'm not an expert on the case, but from what I understand, most of her clients as a financial advisor, which she was not registered as, and she was apparently using someone else's registration.
Oh God. Okay.
So she's, it's not looking good for her
Just
in that
like
regard.
some people put themselves forward as badge agents when they're not, and tax agents when they're not.
Yeah, that's a big no-no for sure. So most of her clients, I understand, are family and friends or people that she's known. And the basics of a Ponzi scheme, for anyone who happens to not know what that is you tell someone that you have this really great investment opportunity for them, whether it's stock market shares or something else, and you take their money on the promise of a great return. And then you go around and you repeat that same process with multiple different people. And you don't actually invest anything because the investment opportunity doesn't really exist, right? But because you've been collecting money off different people, you essentially can show, if you need to, a return to individual people. You can come back to them and say, look, your investment's doing really well. I've doubled your investment in 6 months. Look at this. And you can use the funds that you have secured from everyone to sort of show these gains, and then it just grows. I think that it grows and grows and grows, and it sort of snowballs, and then eventually, people start to say, "Okay, I want to cash out now," and they're retiring or they're, for whatever reason they want to cash out and they want all of their money, and that's when the Jenga tower begins to fall apart. Yeah, because what's happened with this money is it's really gone into sustaining a very luxurious lifestyle for the person at the center of this Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
And it's looking like that's what Melissa Caddick was doing. And the way that she actually did it was she did her investments for her clients. And the word investments and clients are both in inverted commas because, she just took money off people, and she created false ComSec statements to convince clients that they had a ComSec account through her, and that this is what's happening. Every month she would produce a statement for her clients. And the way that she would create those ComSec statements was by forging them, by getting the ComSec logo and copying and pasting it onto a document and sending it to their clients.
Oh.
So one person, I think apparently the most that's been invested is 5 million by an individual person. And I think that was a friend. I understand that was a friend. And she invested in her life. She has multiple multi-million-dollar properties around the eastern suburbs. She would celebrate New Year's and Christmas and New Year's in Aspen every year. Sorry, Aspen, not aspirin. That would be quite a celebration if you're celebrating in aspirin. And, paying $10,000 for the accommodation for a couple of weeks in this apartment in Aspen, which she told everyone she owned, and she didn't actually own it. But so she had a lavish lifestyle. She had a $250,000 necklace, and all these things. It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me, and but I have to say, like, I I hope that she's okay, and I feel for her family. That's a tough one.
Yeah. And then
So
I've
go on.
sorry, just moving forward from that one, I think you've
Mm.
got something else that is equally as disturbing. Is that right?
Yeah, so another disturbing, another interesting story that's been happening that I've been following. Is the Central Coast Council. Again, I don't know too much about this, Darren. I don't know too much about this, but
I'll just give everyone the basics.
Central Coast Council in New South Wales, which is like Wyong and Gosford, the Central Coast. I don't know it that well, but people know it. Their council has recently been put into administration by the Minister for Local Government. They've suspended council for 3 months, and it's probably going to be suspended for another 3 months because they've projected a loss of $115 million by June of next year. So I've actually downloaded their administrator's 30-day report, and I've printed it out, and I'll read you some of the things from this. So statements like CCC, which is Central Coast Council, residents have been badly let down by their council, and widespread anger over the council's performance is totally understandable. At the end of this financial year, accumulated losses over the past 4 years will be over $200 million.
Yeah, so how does a council build up a loss of $200 million over what, 4 years?
So they went from a surplus of $65 million in 2017 to now requiring a state government bailout to pay their employees. And some of the things, so they admit that this is a failure of the council to understand or practice the basics of sound financial management. So there were a few different things. They put it down to 3 things, and I'm just flipping the pages here, so don't mind the sound of that. They amalgamated the councils with another council a few years ago, and apparently the whole point of the amalgamation in terms of financial gain was not taken advantage of. Like, they didn't even look at the books after amalgamation.
No, I was just going to say great due diligence.
Yeah, I don't think there was much of that.
Just like buying a new business. I mean, people don't. Well, some people do, but they shouldn't. Whenever you buy a new business, you should always do your due diligence and, look into the books and verify that they're all correct and all that sort of thing. And first thing you do is, after that's happened, you have a look at it again and go, okay, did we get the right information and whatever? But obviously that didn't occur in this instance.
There's a line here that says, tragically, the operating deficits accelerated, as did the capital program, as per the graph below. So, I mean, when you're doing a report for a local council, that's not a sentence. You don't want a sentence to begin with tragically. But the 3 big issues that they put it down to are the misuse of council's restricted reserves, which I think has to do with oh, no, that's not. So number 2 is the failure to manage council's budget from the time of amalgamation with this other council. And number 3, the failure to focus on achieving efficiency, dividend/savings from the amalgamation. I know that they are currently employing 250 more people full-time than they were 4 years ago. So there's budget mismanagement is a big one here.
Just like any business, you can't understand how they can. People who are in charge of the finances, how can they let this happen?
Yeah, the CEO and the CFO are they've been stood down. I guess the inference is that it was largely their responsibility. But it's just a big cluster, basically. And I don't know. I mean, it strikes a chord with me because the reason that I got into bookkeeping was because I became interested in the finances of keeping businesses afloat and keeping them sustainable. And it's just gobsmacking to think that a local council could get itself into such a bad situation. And I find it fascinating, both of these things, that these, whatever they are, these huge stuff ups are only discovered after so much damage has already been done.
Yeah. Well, probably they are discovered during the way and people try to cover them up, and then it gets to a point where they just can't cover it up anymore. So that's probably what happens. Anyway.
So if you have any scandals that you'd like us to talk about?
Oh, yeah, well, that's right. If anyone's got any, I'm sure you'll come up with plenty of them, Dave, along our journey.
Yep. This is maybe there'll be a true crime podcast spin-off.
Okay, so for me, this week or this fortnight, there's a couple of things that I want to mention here. One thing I have noted is that congratulations are in order for Cassandra Scott and Diane Lucas, who've been appointed to the board of ABA. They just had their recent directors elections, and both of them have been appointed to the board. So well done for that.
Congratulations.
Yes.
The ABA being the Australian Bookkeepers Association.
Correct.
Cassandra and Diane were previously two of the main people in charge of the Association of Accounting Technicians.
Well, Cassandra was on the board of AAT. I don't think Diane was.
Not Diane. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, well done to them. Now, a few other things I want to mention. One was a couple of these relate to Xero. So Xero haven't done too well in this last fortnight. One of those was an email that got sent to partners where they were running a pilot, and in that they said that they would be directly communicating to some partners' clients, and they would be testing those types of communications. And didn't that get a reaction from the partners?
I can imagine. What's the crux of the anger behind that, do you think?
Well, see, the thing is, going way back to when Xero first started, from when they first came in, it's always been, we work with the partners. We believe that the partners are, a vital part of the industry. They're vital to us, and we really value that relationship. And that has been carried through, and, there is a massive, massive proportion of Xero's files that have some attachment to either one or multiple partners, either, a bookkeeper and an accountant, or just a bookkeeper, or just an accountant. A vast majority of the files have an attachment to a partner.
Yeah.
Now Xero turning around and saying, look, we're going to communicate directly with your clients. Those partners are now going, well, thanks very much. You've told us all along how important we are, and now you want to shortcut us? You want to go direct?
So what is there a specific thing that they want to communicate directly with the client about?
Look, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I didn't get one of those emails because in that email it listed who your clients were.
Yeah.
I didn't get one of those, so I haven't seen the exact details, and I don't know exactly what that communication is because obviously none of my clients received that communication. So I'm just going on what I've seen, what the feedback has been.
Yeah.
It was just a very negative, I guess, very much a sour taste in those partners' mouths when that was put out there. I just think that was a bit of a bad, I guess, a bad interaction with the partners in that case. And then while that was happening, also Hubdoc has been copying an absolute flogging from the Xero partners and the Hubdoc partners. It is absolutely being ripped to shreds. And look, a lot of what those partners have been saying is very justified. I mean, basically they just want stuff to work properly and it doesn't work a lot of the time for a lot of people.
Hubdoc itself is having bugs. Is that what you mean?
Just Hubdoc itself hasn't been working very well of late. People are.
Is Hubdoc is it now owned by Xero?
Yeah, so Hubdoc is now owned by Xero. So Hubdoc is effectively within Xero in a lot of cases.
So do you have to subscribe and pay a different subscription for Hubdoc?
If you have a Xero file, you get a Hubdoc subscription for free.
Yeah.
As part of your subscription on certain plans, obviously, that can take bills into that plan. Now, saying that it is free, they did say last year, and this brings me to another point. They did say last year that they were going to bring in a $2 increase for every plan, and this would, effectively just be a price increase. Now, everyone knew that really what that was spreading the cost of Hubdoc across all the Xero business plans.
Yeah.
And so that they would all go up by $2. So everyone knew, okay, we're not paying for Hubdoc, but effectively we're paying for it because there's an extra $2 across the board.
It seems fair. It seems reasonable.
Yeah, look, no one really was too put off by that. But Xero, to their credit, said that they're putting off the increase this year when COVID hit and there was all these different issues. They said, look, we're not going to bring it in. Now, just within the last month or so, they've now sent out an email and said, as of, and I think it's March next year, that $2 price increase will come into play. Okay? So they've effectively deferred it for a whole year.
Yeah.
I personally have no problem with that. But again, some people are going, well, why should we end up paying an extra $2 when you're going to effectively charge us for Hubdoc when you can't even get it working properly?
Yeah. So have the Hubdoc issues been more prominent since they were purchased by?
Yeah. So and that's the other thing that a lot of people have really had an issue with is that since Xero has taken over Hubdoc, since they bought Hubdoc, nothing's really happened with it. And a lot of people have said, look, you've taken it on, but what have you done with it? You haven't done anything. And so people are really annoyed about that. I did see an interview with one of the main Hubdoc development team the other day, and he was saying, look, we're well aware of it. We are working on stuff. There's a lot of things that we need to do. Please bear with us. So, look, they've admitted that there's some issues. I guess the problem is that people are just like, well, if you can't even get it working properly now, then why should I have to pay anything? And even though it's a small amount, it's just another way that people are getting annoyed at what Xero is doing. And for me, I have always, over the last probably 3-4 years, have really questioned their priorities
Yeah.
and what they've done and their development path, so to speak. They seem to get sidetracked by, the flashing new lights in some ways when they should be dealing with some core issues. I
So
believe that they are trying to do those, but
do you mean that they're making other acquisitions that they're incorporating into?
that's right.
So what are some other ones that they've?
Look, there was I can't even remember the name of it now. That's how interested I was in it.
When you are a Xero subscriber that you pay for the level that you get Hubdoc, what else do you get, like, apart from the core product? Do you also get, is there a timesheets? Like, I know with QuickBooks you get T-sheets, I think, for free. What else do you get? What has Xero now, like, what apps, add-ons has Xero acquired that aren't just extra add-ons that you can purchase?
Well, they don't work like that. I mean, really the product is there. I mean, really it's Hubdoc, and everything else is extra services that you need to pay for.
Right.
So, nothing's for nothing. I mean, in some ways you're going to end up paying for it. And yeah, look, I mean, I don't think there's much more I can really say to that, but what it does lead me to is, you get nothing for nothing with the Accounting Business Expo. So every year Accounting Business Expo has been going on, and it's for free. So attendees turn up for free.
Yeah.
Now, as I say, nothing's for nothing. So effectively what happens, and this is my opinion, so I know people are going to disagree with me, but this is my opinion. Effectively, Accounting Business Expo is an expo where you're constantly just sold to, and people pay for the privilege of selling to you. That's the way it comes across to me. And even though you might be there for free, I think the first year it was quite good, but ever since then I have been very, very underwhelmed. And this year, it was going to have to be online, which it was. The thing was, after it's happened, what happened? Like, I have not seen anything from anyone that's been. I haven't seen anything come out about, any of the sessions. It's been, from what I've seen, and I normally see this sort of stuff, I haven't read a single thing. It's like a ghost town. Like, what happened? Did anyone go to the Accounting Business Expo online version this year?
Funnily enough, I registered, and then I didn't go. I didn't actually tune into any of the talks. I found it pretty confusing as well. It looked like there was just dozens and dozens of things on at the same time. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and to be honest, like, I wasn't in the mood for it on the day, so I just went, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sit, and I don't like sitting down and watching videos on or streaming on a laptop. I just don't like the format of it. So I just registered because I had been registered to attend the in-person event, which was going to be in March. But no, I didn't receive, from what I remember, I haven't received much of a follow-up. All I've had is a few kind of spammy accounts request to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I wish them all the best, because being in the event industry right now is obviously, like, so touch and go for so many people.
Yeah.
I hope they can, happen next year and have an in-person thing. And I have a feeling that, I get the feeling that it will happen. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. They might have just been, ticking the boxes this year, just going, we want to have an event in 2020 so that we can say that we had an event in 2020.
The
It'll
problem
help
is, though,
it'll help with continuity of the event. It'll help with sponsorship. It'll help with attendance next year. And who knows, maybe
that's the thing, though. Those sponsors and those people who, are presenting, who paid, what did they get this year? Like, they've obviously still paid money, but what did they get in return? Who went? Who viewed their things? I'd love to hear from somebody who presented or who paid to be like an exhibitor, so to speak, in this online environment, what they got out of it. I would really love to hear from somebody.
Yeah, definitely. If you were at Accounting Business Expo and you want to share the experience that you had participating in that this year, then get in touch. Send us an email at podcastcontra@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or find us on Facebook at the Contra account.
Yep, that's right.
So what else is going on industry-wise, Darren?
Okay, just a couple little things. Obviously, probably most people would have seen that the JobMaker scheme details have been released. The info's up on the ATO website.
So that's just to kind of paint a picture. The JobMaker is to encourage people in the building and construction industry to employ people between the ages of 18 and 35. Is that?
Well, it's not just building and construction.
No?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. What am I thinking? No, that's what it initially was, I think. The JobMaker. I seem to remember when it was announced from a construction site by ScoMo with a hard hat on. So maybe that's why I think.
Yeah.
But please fill us in.
Oh, look, I'm not going to go into all the details. I think it's probably better for people to, do the reading. What we'll do is we'll stick a link to the to what's up on the ATO website. We'll stick a link in the notes for this episode, and then people can read it from there. I won't go into all the details, but effectively, if you're hiring new staff, depending on their age, you can get some money from the government to subsidise some of that cost. I mean, that's effectively what it comes down to. And then the last point that I wanted to make is the other day I saw that the TPB, so that's the Tax Practitioners Board, have extended their annual declaration concession. So anyone that has a renewal on or before the 30th of June 2021, you do not have to complete it until 2022 or 2023 if your registration renewal is due in 2022. So again, we'll stick that link up. People can click on it and go through and have a look at the details from the TPB on that. But I think that's a great initiative by them. I think that so many practitioners have been doing so much else that even trying to keep these things in order has been a little difficult. I'm sure that everyone has done more than their required number of hours of CPE that they would need to do. I don't think that's the problem part. It's just filling in the form and remembering that you have to do it and all that sort of stuff. So TPB is giving us a bit of a reprieve for that. So that's me with all my bits for this episode.
Thanks, Darren. I'm really happy that you got us all up to speed on all that stuff. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
The only thing I request that the TPB extend their annual declaration concession to support Dave Gertler affected by not being a BAS agent and wanting to be one. That's the only request I have. Other than that, everything was great.
You might need to take that up with them yourself.
Well, thank you for listening to the Contra Account, a bookkeeping podcast. I have been Dave Gertler, and Darren McMahon, sorry, I had a mental block there, has been on the other end of this podcast.
It's been a long one. I forgive you.
Sorry?
It's been a long one. I forgive you.
It's not such a long name, McMahon.
No, the podcast.
I was joking.
Yeah,
if you want to find out more about Darren's business, although don't come knocking between the 18th of December and the 11th of January, because that's just not, the year is over by then. But you can head to Dardee, DARDEE.com.au. And you can also, if you want to find out about what I do, go to thebkhabit.com.au.
Okay, now as Dave mentioned before, you can reach out to us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. We put all these episodes on YouTube as well, and via our email, which is podcastcontra@gmail.com.
That's right. And I guess in the show notes, we'll link to each of those different social media accounts so you don't have to go searching for them.
That's right, yeah.
But that's a good place to leave it, I reckon.
Yep, totally agree.
Nice long episode for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for everyone that's tuned in for this long episode.
If you've listened all the way to the end, then tweet at the Contra account, and we'll share that.
Yes, thank you.
Or just let us know that you listened all the way to the end. Send Darren a message.
Yep. And in the meantime, keep balancing those books and keep your clients out of the news so Dave doesn't put them in the next episode.
That's it.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.